Cheating in video games can be a lot of fun, but what happens when the game chides you for it? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 single-player games that call you out for cheating. Starting off at number 10, in The Witcher 3, you can farm various animals as kind of an exploit to, well, get a lot of money. You can be killing the cows, you can be killing the clams, different reasons, but with the same goal. If you're trading cowhide, you're obviously making money. If you're trading pearls, you're obviously making money. And when you install the Hearts of Stone expansion, there's a gentleman by the name of the Taxman who will come with some questions. Obviously, the questions relate to the cows and the clams. First, he asks about the cows. Have you been trading the hides? He does the same thing for the pearls. Obviously, he's a taxman. He wants to collect some amount of it. But here's the fun thing. You can just lie to him. Like, you hear about corporations hiding their money in tax havens all the time. Why even bother with the tax haven? Just tell them that you don't have the money and that you don't sell the hides and that you don't trade the pearls. I'm a witcher, man. What interest do I have in mollusks and cattle? At number 9, way back in 1994, a game called Heretic, built on top of a modified version of the Doom engine, and was published by id Software. The association with Doom was quite obvious, although Raven Software did add the vital feature of being able to look up and down. Now, a lot of people took note of the association between Doom and Heretic and thought, could I just use the Doom codes? And yes, you technically could. You could use them. They wouldn't necessarily do what you wanted them to do, though, however. There's a couple of results that may have come about due to you using the Doom codes in Heretic. First, you might lose all your weapons, which, in a first-person shooter, that's not good. But the other fun thing that could happen is just you exploding. Yes, you basically completely disintegrate into a pile of guts. The message at the top of the screen reads, "Player killed himself. Trying to cheat, eh? Now you die." At number 8, in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, there is a fishing hole. For catching record-breaking fish, you can get various prizes. Now, this is of course a somewhat competitive idea, obviously. It's a single-player game, and you're not really playing against anyone, but still, the guy who runs the pond does not want you using a sinking lure. However, you can get a sinking lure and use it, and he doesn't give you a prize for it, but I mean, I guess it's fun. I mean, you can even be honest about it and talk to the owner about using the lure, but he still won't give you a prize if you catch something. It goes the same for Twilight Princess, although obviously things are a little bit different. Not a lot, though. You get more of an explanation as to why you can't use it, though. They tell you it's bad for the ecosystem and it changes the fish's feeding habits so that nobody will be able to catch them. They also note that sinking lures had been banned for generations. I mean, that's fine, but I want to set some records here. It's way easier with that lure. At number 7, Theme Hospital is an incredibly fun game. It's got a great sense of humor, and it does everything it can to keep things interesting on an ongoing basis the whole time you're playing it. On one hand, you're dealing with doctors, on the other, with patients, and the game can get pretty silly. A good example of this is what happens when you enable the cheat codes. First off, there's a cheat mode, where you send a fax with a number code on it, and then you can basically enable any of the following cheats: getting money, completing all the research, skipping to the end of the month, the year, skipping levels, etc. And they're very easy codes to enable once you've enabled cheat mode. They're like Shift-C, Control-C, Control-M, etc. They're just buttons. But when you do enable one of them, somebody says a message over the hospital PA system. Warning, a cheat is running the hospital. Hospital administrator is cheating. So somewhere in the theme hospital there is a buzzkill, and they have access to the PA. At number 6, there's a specific ending for cheating in Undertale. It's called the Dirty Hacker ending, and I mean, there's a lot of contingencies planned to give you different endings based on things you do in the game, and the cheating that you do is actually kind of hacking. Not really, but a bit. You go into the game's binary code in a hex editor, and you make some changes to some conditions in the save file that force a different event. That event is the Dirty Hacker ending. It's pretty cool on account not a lot of people really think, let's make a different ending for if people get into the binary code via a hex editor and change some values. In fact, if I were a game developer, I wouldn't think of that. It's not just that it seems like a rare thing, it seems like nobody would think of that. Why would you think of that? But Undertale goes above and beyond in more than one way, and, well, I mean, in some ways you gotta take your hat off to that. At number 5, in South Park, The Fractured But Whole, have to be careful how you say that one. If you do any of the various cheats that are available to you, Cartman goes ahead and calls you Tom Brady. Now, the reason for that is that Tom Brady is the quarterback of the New England Patriots, who was accused of telling equipment managers to let the air out of the footballs, causing a huge controversy that was eventually dubbed Deflategate. And it was all anybody ever talked about that year, and when South Park came out with their game a few years ago, they were obviously still talking about it. Tom Brady was eventually cleared of it, however, that doesn't mean Cartman can't use Tom Brady as an insult for cheaters. At number 4 is the Stanley Parable, which, let's say you try to enable server cheats via the console. There is a funny little interesting thing that happens. You get teleported to a very nondescript room with a table in it. The narrator makes sure that you are aware that he spent a long time finding the most serious table. He looked at hundreds, possibly over 1,000 tables, and put this table in the room just to impress upon you that this is the most serious room in the game. If you're detecting the humor here, then you've probably played the Stanley Parable. Or you probably should, on account you would probably think it's funny. In this very serious room, the narrator admonishes you for using the console to try to enable cheats. He says you could have broken the game. He also sentences you to 100 billion trillion years standing in the serious room. Then, if you go ahead and try to cheat again, to get out of the serious room, you're again teleported to the serious room, where he admits that he actually looked at a lot more tables than initially said, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000, and kept notes on all of them, seriously considering each one. And it's insane. It's totally insane. But that's the Stanley Parable. At number 3 is a detective in Silent Hill 3 by the name of Douglas. Now, Silent Hill being a Konami game, you can enter the Konami code. The Konami code ended up in tons of Konami games over the years, and of course, people are pretty much tempted every time Konami releases a game, although that's happened a lot less in recent years, to input the Konami code. In Silent Hill 3, it causes Douglas, that detective I mentioned, to be wearing boxers at all times throughout the game. He's got a fedora on, an overcoat, a tie, no shirt, no pants, just boxers. It completely destroys the tone of the game. Every single time that he shows up, every single conversation is insane because it's a man in his boxers wearing a tie, having it with whoever. This context basically changes the meaning of every single interaction involving Douglas. At number 2, you can try to steal items in Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, which is obviously cheating. In any game, you're going to need to use money to buy items. That seems like an obvious statement. But if you continually just try to steal, you can actually get items for free from shops. You have to try to leave a lot, many times. I mean, it'll work for you, but you can't go back to that shop because the shop owner is like a Dragon Ball Z guy or something. You walk in there and he says, "I wasn't kidding, I said you needed to pay," and then he shoots you with lightning out of his hands. He's just absolutely not playing around. Also, all of the townsfolk will begin calling you a thief because obviously you just stole right in front of the shopkeeper's face, and the shopkeeper knows the people in the town better than you do. But I have to say, maybe the punishment doesn't really fit the crime here. Like, he murders you for stealing, an item. And finally, at number 1, The Witcher 3 lets you do a lot of things and gives you a lot of different outcomes. If you try to seduce both of the love interests in the game, however, it knows, and it says, that's not something we're standing for. Frankly, the scene that you get for attempting to seduce both of these women is pretty funny. It seems like it's going to be a fantasy for Geralt, and then it's not. It is not at all. They tie him up naked and just leave him there. Ha ha. I guess don't mess with tough people, especially with their hearts, is the lesson. And finally, there's a quick bonus if you get on Duke Nukem 3D on Steam and input a cheat code, can be any cheat code, doesn't matter which cheat code, you will get a shame achievement on Steam, complete with the Duke facepalming. But let's just go ahead and say this, somebody playing Duke Nukem 3D having shame? Oh no no no. That game is not designed for folks with shame. That's all for today. You remember any games that have called you out for cheating? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe and don't forget to enable all notifications. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.